Part 15. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 141. What is the most difficult scene to face at the police dog training base? The departure of comrades. Although the scene is sad, in fact the most difficult thing to face is the separation between the trainer and the police dog. A trainer can have many comrades and companions, but for a police dog, there is only one trainer in its world. Once the trainer leaves, the sky for the police dog seems to be colorless. In reality, we often encounter scenes of trainers finishing their service, leaving the army, and then parting ways with police dogs. The pictures and stories are so tear-jerking. Today, Wang Ling originally wanted to avoid this kind of scene, but he didn't expect that he would have to face it again. "Xiao He, let go," Wang Ling shouted. But Xiao He refused to obey no matter what. He just bit Wang Ling's luggage and made a sad low sound in his throat. That kind of sound made the listener sad and the listener shed tears. Even though Wang Ling had made up his mind to leave, Xiao He's behavior made him unbearable. Wang Ling just looked at Xiao He for a long time, and then he squatted down, touched Xiao He's forehead, and sighed, "Xiao He, why are you doing this? Follow Fat Cow and no one will train you anymore. Wouldn't it be nice to just laze about every day? Woof woof woof. Woof woof woof." After hearing Wang Ling's words, Xiao He finally relaxed, but he barked again, seeming to express his protest. After barking, it didn't even wait for Wang Ling to say anything else. It crossed Wang Ling directly and lay down in front of the tracked vehicle, as if you were going to run over me if you wanted to leave. Its stubborn appearance was so similar to that of Wang Ling. Wang Ling couldn't bear to see it. The tip of his nose was sore. He held back his tears. He sighed and asked, "Sir, can I kill Xiao He? Take it away." It was a simple request, but the commander could not satisfy him. He shook his head and said, "No, Xiao He's training has not reached the standard. According to regulations, he cannot enter the battlefield. Otherwise, not only will he not be of much help, but he may cause more trouble." Even Xiaoping Wang persuaded, "Wang Ling, if you really think about Xiao He, just leave it here. You are going to the battlefield, and you have seen the cruelty of the battlefield. Xiao He went, and soon it's easy to get into trouble, so it's better to let it stay here safely." The advice from two people in succession made Wang Ling stop thinking, gritted his teeth, and shouted, "Xiao He, come here." After hearing the order, Xiao He finally took action again and rushed to Wang Ling with a swipe. Wang Ling rubbed Xiao He's forehead one last time and then ordered, "Sit down." Xiao He was very familiar with this kind of basic command. He immediately sat down like a door god, but his eyes when looking at Wang Ling were still full of desire. But Wang Ling could only hold back the reluctance in his heart and shouted, "Don't move until there is an order to stand up." After he finished speaking, he looked at the fat cow again and sighed, "Take good care of it for me. I will come back to see it in the future. When it loses a pound, I will kick you." In the world of Red Alert, the separation scene between the trainer and the police dog is still very rare. Seeing this scene with his own eyes, Fat Cow is now red-eyed. Hearing Wang Ling's words, he quickly wiped his tears and promised, "Don't worry, Brother Ling, after you leave, Xiao He will be handed over to me, and I promise to raise it as fat as the bull demon." Wang Ling was relieved after hearing the guarantee, and then gritted his teeth, "Let's go, Brother Zhao." During this process, King Xiaoping never urged Wang Ling. He waited until Wang Ling finished handling Xiao He's matters, then nodded and got into the tracked vehicle first. Wang Ling followed closely behind, but before entering the tracked vehicle, he looked back alone. Xiao He, after all, was a police dog. At the moment of farewell, he still chose to obey Wang Ling's order and sat there looking at Wang Ling. However, tears had already fallen from his eyes, which were particularly obvious and dazzling. Who says animals don't have feelings? The tears seemed to flow into Wang Ling's heart continuously, melting Wang Ling's heart. At this moment, Wang Ling's heart was shaken, and he could no longer hold back the tears, which burst into his eyes. But in the end, he still turned his head. "Xiao He, goodbye." After finishing speaking, Wang Ling got into the anti-aircraft crawler vehicle without hesitation. After successfully receiving the target, the anti-aircraft crawler vehicle drove at full speed without any pause, and soon left everyone's sight and drifted away. However, under the scorching sun, Xiao He kept looking at the direction Wang Ling left without moving. Only the tears in those eyes kept flowing for a long time, a long time, a long time. Finally leaving the police dog training base, Wang Ling, who was sitting in the tracked vehicle, couldn't bear it anymore and burst into tears. While crying, Wang Ling also complained, "Uncle He, why did you make this game so realistic? Although Uncle He has human emotions, he is not a real human being after all. He has seen all the scenes just now, but his current mood is still unwavering." Hearing Wang Lingdu's complaint, he replied calmly, "Boy, although this is a game world, for you, this is also an alternative life experience. Those emotions and those bonds will also become the driving force for you to move forward." Wang Ling couldn't listen to such righteous words, and he still couldn't control his emotions. After he cried for a while, King Xiaoping said with relief, "It's almost done." Is it normal for a man to cry and cry? Before Wang Ling could ignore him, Xiaoping Wan continued to persuade, "The training base is where Xiao He should stay. It avoids the cruelty of the battlefield. Shouldn't you be happy for it? What's more, parting is not a permanent farewell. As long as the war eases, you can come back to visit it. Furthermore, after the war is over, you can take it wherever you want, right?" King Xiaoming's persuasion can be said to be genuine. Wang Ling was still choking at first, but after listening to these persuasion, he gradually accepted the result. Yes, parting is not forever. There will always be a chance to see it again in the future. The scorching sun, yellow sand, and tracked vehicles galloping past stirred up dust along the way, which was difficult to disperse for a long time. In the tracked vehicle, Wang Ling took a long time to finally control his emotions. He was stunned for a moment before asking again, "Brother Zhao, how is the Eagle team now?" Mentioning the Eagle squad, Zhao Pingwang was full of joy and said with a smile, "You are worthy of being the subordinates brought out by Wang Ling. The combat effectiveness of the Eagle squad is indeed amazing. They have now arrived on the new battlefield. That's where you want to go and see for yourself what it's like." Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 142. Wang Ling nodded and did not ask any further questions. Having left the police dog training base and Xiao He, Wang Ling gradually accepted the reality after feeling sad and began to focus on the battlefield. On the battlefield, what Wang Ling cared about most was naturally the Eagle Squadron. According to Zhao Pingwang, the current Eagle Squad seems to be developing well, but according to Uncle He, the current Eagle Squad seems to have encountered some troubles. As for the specific situation, since King Xiaoping refused to tell, Wang Ling could not continue to ask further. In short, he was about to arrive at the battlefield, and the specific situation would be known when he asked. In the following time, Wang Ling and Zhao Pingwang did not speak again, closed their eyes and rested, waiting quietly. As for this brand new battlefield for Wang Ling, the distance from the police dog training base was really quite long. Even at the speed of an anti-aircraft crawler vehicle, it took him half a day to reach it without stopping. On the last battlefield, Wang Ling had spent 50 points to exchange for an electronic map. The 50 points were quite worth it. It seemed that he could borrow the radar signals of the battlefield where the coalition forces were located. As a result, Wang Ling had just arrived here. The overall map of this battlefield explored by the coalition forces appeared in Ling's subconscious. This battlefield was much larger than the one Wang Ling was in last time. Even at the speed of an anti-aircraft crawler vehicle, it would probably take more than 2 hours to gallop from one end to the other. The confrontation time on this battlefield seems to have been quite long. The coalition forces have explored the entire map, leaving only some unexplored areas in the marginal areas that are not important. From the map within the visible range, we can see that the terrain of this battlefield is relatively complex. It is mountainous, with huge differences in terrain. There are also 2 winding rivers that cross the entire battlefield, with only 2 ancient bridges connect the battlefields on both sides of the Taiwan Strait. In addition, the material situation on this battlefield is much richer than that of the previous battlefield. There are many mines in the large open space visible outside the base. Although there are many mine carts from both sides transporting them day and night, after all, the battlefield map is too big, and even half of the battlefield ores have not been mined for so long. At the same time, there are 6 oil production plants located in different directions on this battlefield. However, depending on the situation, it has been occupied by both sides. The Allied forces only captured 2 of the 4 buildings. Of course, this cannot be blamed on the Allied forces. After all, the scale of this battlefield is much larger than the previous one. There are actually 4 Allied bases located on several high mountains on the other side of the river. The 4 enemy bases are like 4 steel fortresses. Outside the range of the crack generator, the towering light prism tower is particularly conspicuous. It seems that it is also for the convenience of recording these 4 Allied bases. On the Allied radar map, these 4 bases are also marked with different colors: blue, yellow, orange, and green. Each of them occupies its own hilltop, and there are often different colors. Allied troops from the base went to visit. It seems that it is not an ordinary difficulty to break through these 4 Allied bases. And the coalition can contend with these 4 Allied bases for so long, so naturally it will not be bad. There are 2 coalition bases on the 2 hills that are far opposite to the Allied forces, and they are all marked in red on the map. Judging from the electronic map, the defenses of the 2 coalition bases are not generally strong. Sentry guns and anti-aircraft guns can be seen everywhere in the surrounding walls, and towering magnetic storm coils are also built all around. There are also a large number of various tank units and infantry units in the base, and there are even some apocalypse tanks mixed in. Patrol teams are walking throughout the base almost non-stop to protect the safety of the base. In addition, Wang Ling also saw traces of terrifying robots in some open spaces. This thing had not appeared on the previous battlefield, but in fact it was also a unique unit of the coalition forces. This terrifying robot takes the shape of a mechanical spider and runs extremely fast. It has the power to instantly kill all ground infantry within reach. It can also forcefully get into enemy vehicle units and start destroying them from the inside, which is really a headache. However, while it is terrifying, the weakness of this thing is also very obvious. The health and armor are really pitiful. With the firepower of sentry guns or machine gun bunkers, it can be easily blown up, even the machine guns on armed mine carts. It can also deal a fatal blow to it. If the number of soldiers mobilized is large, they can also focus fire to kill this thing in an instant. With these information flashing through his mind, Wang Ling was marveling, but Uncle Hay's voice suddenly came out. Last time, you just entered the simplest battlefield, and faced the number of difficult troops in the Allied forces. Very few. But compared to the previous one, the difficulty of this battlefield has been upgraded. Boy, don't be careless, or you may lose your life. After hearing this, Wang Ling nodded silently. On the last battlefield, Wang Ling was able to dominate. On the one hand, it was because he was too familiar with the various arms of Red Alert and the habit of controlling troops on the computer. On the other hand, it was also because of the arms that posed a great threat to him, such as snipers and light tanks. Every time only one appears, Wang Ling can always think of countermeasures in time to deal with it. But if 3 or 2 snipers attack together, or if more than a dozen light precision tanks push across, Wang Ling, as a mobilized soldier, will die countless times. While Wang Ling was thinking about these issues, the tracked vehicle finally stopped at the entrance of one of the coalition bases. Zhao Pingwang couldn't wait any longer, so he opened the door and jumped out, followed closely by Wang Ling. After sitting in the car for such a long time, Zhao Pingwang's body was already a little stiff, and he was moving vigorously after getting off the car. But after Wang Ling strengthened at the intermediate level, he didn't feel any discomfort at all. Now he was just silently looking at this strange base. They are also coalition bases. The various buildings and military units here are naturally the same as those at a coalition base on the battlefield. However, the difference is that there are more main buildings and defensive buildings here, and they are more widely distributed. The troops there are also more in number, and they look very prosperous and powerful. No wonder 2 coalition bases were able to withstand the attacks of 4 coalition bases and maintain a stalemate for such a long time. These 2 coalition bases are quite powerful. While Wang Ling was sizing up the base, Zhao Pingwang smiled and patted his shoulder, leading him past the sentry guns and magnetic storm coils and into the base. After crossing the blocking wall and officially arriving inside the base, Wang Ling immediately felt a chilling smell of iron and blood. Everything around him seemed to be declaring the strength of the base. Zhao Pingwang had long been accustomed to this kind of atmosphere and didn't care. He casually called a patrolling mobilization soldier and gave some instructions before saying to Wang Ling, "Let him take you to find the Eagle Squad. You just arrived, I have to report here." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 143. Okay, Brother Zhao, thank you for your hard work along the way, Wang Ling said politely. But King Xiaoping glared at him and said dissatisfied, "You are still seeing me outside. Next time you are like this, I won't care about you." Wang Ling just giggled and didn't answer him. Seeing King Xiaoping's casual look, Wang Ling estimated that even with this more powerful base, his status here would not be worse. But it's not surprising. Zhao Pingwang was previously the deputy to the colonel and the second in command of a coalition base. Now he has been promoted to captain. It is normal for his high status. After King Xiaoping left, the mobilization soldier responsible for guiding the way asked curiously, "Sir, where did you come from?" Although Wang Ling has now converted into a magnetic blast infantry, he has not changed his equipment and clothes yet. The rank of sergeant on the shoulder straps is particularly conspicuous. This conscript is only a superior soldier. Of course, he must be polite when meeting Wang Ling. "You little guy, you are quite curious. Do you believe me when I say that I used to raise a police dog?" Wang Ling teased, and then urged, "Okay, stop asking and take me to find him right away, Team Eagle." This. Instead, the mobilized soldier showed a troubled expression. "Captain Zhao Pingwang left too fast just now, and he didn't make it clear. Which Eagle team are you looking for?" Wang Ling was curious, how many Eagle teams are there? The mobilizer thought for a moment and replied, "Originally there were 2, but one of them seems to have changed his name. I'd better take you to the current reserved Eagle team first." After saying that, the mobilization soldiers turned around and started leading the way. Wang Ling became suspicious, but now he didn't ask too much. Instead, he followed the mobilization soldiers and walked for more than 10 minutes before arriving at an army garrison. Arriving at the station, Wang Ling was a little surprised. There are 5 Rhino tanks parked around here, 2 of which have reached the 3-star elite level, 2 anti-aircraft crawler vehicles, and an Apocalypse tank, but none of them have levels. The soldiers around here also look very tough. There are many 1-star veterans and many 3-star elite soldiers. But the strange thing is that Wang Ling doesn't recognize any of the members of the Eagle Squad who are coming and going. Even if the members of the Eagle Squad change frequently, there should always be one or two veteran soldiers, but we can't see them here. Wang Ling frowned and became puzzled, and the mobilization soldier who led the way walked directly into the camp and called out the captain of the Eagle Squad without any explanation. I thought it would be Sundahu who came out, but unexpectedly, what came out was a strong and strange man. This man was nearly 1.9 meters tall, and his tall body looked very majestic. His face was white and beardless, and his face was as sharp as a knife. His sword-shaped eyebrows were raised, and his sharp eyes revealed a little impatience. The most important thing is that looking at this man's epaulets, he is also a senior officer, at the same level as Wang Ling. The first time he saw him, Wang Ling murmured, suspecting that he was in the wrong place. According to Uncle He, since Wang Ling retired, the Eagle Squad has not had a regular captain. Sundahu has always been acting for Wang Ling. Now that a strange captain suddenly appears, it can only mean that there is no major change in the Eagle Squad. Just came to the wrong place. However, everyone was invited out, and it would be impolite to let others go, so Wang Ling simply waited here. As for the captain of the Eagle Squadron, he was originally a little impatient because he was called out by a superior soldier, but after getting closer to Wang Ling and seeing his rank, he put away his impatience and gave Wang Ling a military salute. Captain of the Eagle Squadron, Chen Tong. Excuse me, who are you? Wang Ling also returned the greeting, former Eagle Squad Captain, Wang Ling. Brother Chen, is there a person named Sundahu in your Eagle Squad? After hearing what Wang Ling said, Chen Tong looked Wang Ling up and down, a little curious and a little playful. Former captain of the Eagle Squad? I don't think I have heard of it. I have always been the captain of the Eagle Squad. I have never heard of it before. Pass you. As for Sundahu, he is not from our Eagle Squad, but the acting captain of the Dog Squad. Are you the original captain of the Dog Squad? Dog team, Wang Ling frowned, a little confused. Chen Tong replied, originally, the Dog Squad was also part of the Eagle Squad like us, but after all, the names collided with ours. It was very troublesome to command, so naturally one of them had to change his name. They are not as good as us, and they have external support. Yes, if they don't change it, do they still want us to change it? Wang Ling ignored him and looked at the mobilization soldier who was leading the way. After receiving Wang Ling's questioning look, the soldier replied, I only heard that one of the Eagle Squadron changed its name, but I don't know the specific reason. After all, with the rank of private here, he doesn't have much authority to know these things. Listening to Chen Tong's words, it seems that Sundahu and others had some conflicts with Chen Tong's team. However, Wang Ling is not clear about the situation yet, so he is not in a hurry to do anything. Instead, he said goodbye, well, since I'm in the wrong place, so I won't bother you anymore and say goodbye. I'm sorry to send you away. Chen Tong chuckled, and the amusement in his expression became more and more obvious, which made Wang Ling feel a little unhappy. After Wang Ling left, Chen Tong frowned and said, there is actually a captain in the Dog Squad? Why does Sundahu always say that he is just an agent? His feelings are waiting for him. Xiao Lu. Brother Chen. As an informant, hurry up and find out who Wang Ling is, what his achievements are, and whether he has done anything ridiculous. Hey, I got it, Brother Chen. Dog team, Wang Ling. Haha, interesting. If you come back at this time, do you still want to squeeze our name out? Stop dreaming. Wang Ling was new to this battlefield, and he was still a little confused. He didn't know what the situation was. Although Chen Tong was unhappy, he didn't act recklessly. Now he is still following the mobilization soldier who led the way. The K9 team station. To be honest, Wang Ling didn't really care about the team name. What he wanted most now was to meet the old members of the Eagle Squad and find Sun Dehua. The base area was too large, and the mobilization soldiers were not walking fast. They left Chentong and walked for nearly 15 minutes before reaching the station of the dog team. The troops stationed at this point are also not weak. There are 4 Rhino tanks parked nearby, 2 of which are already at the elite level. There are also 2 anti-aircraft crawler vehicles, one of which has also reached the 3-star level. The most shocking thing was the 2 Apocalypse tanks, one with 3 stars and the other with 1 star. They were parked there to intimidate all outsiders, looking mighty and domineering. Bang! While Wang Ling was looking at these vehicles and units, a person walked slowly not far away. When he saw Wang Ling, he was stunned on the spot, and the iron basin he was holding in his hand fell down inadvertently. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 144. This banging sound also attracted Wang Ling's attention. He turned his head and looked at it, feeling happy in his heart. He knew this man, his old subordinate in the Eagle Squadron. Wang Ling still vaguely remembered that his name was Erlu, and he was also a dignified 3-star elite soldier. This name, to be honest, is quite unpleasant. After learning about this name, Wang Ling simply gave him the number 02, and it was easy to pronounce. Now seeing the 2 donkeys from here, it means that Wang Ling finally came to the right place this time. This so-called dog team is really the original Eagle team. But now, when Erlu suddenly saw Wang Ling, he was so surprised that he felt a little stupid and stammered, you. Wang Ling was amused. What's wrong, Erlu? We haven't seen each other for so long. Are you stammering? As soon as Erlu heard this voice, his eyes turned red immediately, and he shouted in an ecstatic tone, Brother Tiger, come out quickly, look who's coming. When the mobilization soldier who was leading the way heard this, he smiled awkwardly and said to Wang Ling, Sir, it seems there is no need for me to call you. This is probably the unit you are looking for, so I will go on patrol first. Wang Ling was so excited that he didn't know what he said, so the mobilization soldier left here with his lips curled up. At this time, Donkey was still calling. After a while, Sun Dehua's voice finally came from the camp, You are full of food, you are yelling like this. As he spoke, Sun Dehua also got out of the tent. Just as he was about to continue scolding, he suddenly noticed the smiling Wang Ling not far away, and instantly froze. Not only him, but Donkey lived up to his name. His voice was as loud as a donkey's bray. After Sun Dehua, other members of the Eagle team also got out of the tent. It seemed that some people were stunned when people arrived, but some of those who responded quickly became excited immediately, Captain! You are back! This shout also woke up the others. Without saying a word, Sun Dehua stepped forward and pounced on Wang Ling like a hungry tiger pounces on food. His posture made Wang Ling subconsciously want to raise his foot and kick him back, but he reacted at the last moment and put his foot down quickly. Sun Dehua had no idea that he had been hovering on the edge of being beaten, but now he had pounced on him, hugging Wang Ling like a monkey in the sky. Captain, after waiting for you for so long, you are finally back. Of course, he was not the only one who was excited. Other old members of the Eagle team also followed suit and pounced on him one by one. Wang Ling had now gone through the intermediate level of strengthening, but he did not deliberately use much strength to resist, and was quickly knocked down. Then the others pressed on top of him one by one like a stack of arhuts, and soon the stack was several meters high. When some mobilization soldiers patrolling not far away saw this situation, they became confused, and some people happily speculated that there was some happy event here. Captain! I miss you so much, Captain. I'll give it a try too. Who kept you from coming back for so long? The stacking of arhuts was still going on, and even Erlu, the bastard, was setting up a ladder to send those who couldn't jump up one by one. Finally, he grabbed the crowd and climbed up, trying to join in the fun. However, the group of people pressed together was not strong in the first place. After his troubles, the Arhat soon tilted and fell down, and the group of people fell to pieces. Wang Ling also took advantage of this time to crawl out quickly, and cursed with an annoyed expression, "You bastards, do you miss me or hate me? You pushed me to death as soon as we met." Although he was complaining, in fact Wang Ling was not affected much at all. However, Sun Dehu and others who were close to him were so overwhelmed that they coughed for a long time before they gradually recovered, and then looked excited. "Captain, I miss you so much. Why did you come back so late?" "Yes, Captain, I have been looking forward to your return every day for several months." "Hey, look forward to it, look forward to it, the east wind is coming, the captain's footsteps are approaching." When old comrades in arms met, we could see how excited these people were. They all expressed their joy in their own way, and many even cried with joy. Seeing this scene, the tip of Wang Ling's nose was a little sore, but this was a reunion, not a separation. Wang Ling quickly endured the sourness and cursed with a smile, "You little bastards, what are you crying about? I'm here, not leaving, and now that I'm here, I don't plan to leave again." Upon hearing what he said, many people in the Eagle squad laughed wildly. Sun Dehu even asked, "Captain, are you not sick?" "You're the one who's sick," Wang Ling snarled subconsciously, but after finishing the rant, he remembered that when he left, the reason given above was indeed that he was sick, and then he coughed in embarrassment. "Don't worry. La, it's okay. Ha ha ha, okay, now that the captain is back, we will have the confidence to fight." "Captain, we heard that you went to the police dog training base and also participated in the training of magnetic explosive infantry. You should be stronger now, right? Come on, Captain, didn't you just want to fight me last time? I'll satisfy you." This wish is for a fight. Sun Dehu's warlike thoughts came over. During this period, he led the Eagle Squadron and went through many battles, large and small. Now he is on par with Wang Ling. They all have the rank of sergeant as well. When he saw Wang Ling again, he also wanted to test his progress during this period. Wang Ling didn't refuse, and smiled more playfully. The competition between the two started very quickly. Without any warning, Sun Dehu punched Wang Ling almost like a sneak attack. But Wang Ling just waved lightly and hit Sun Dehu on the wrist, disrupting his offensive. Then he suddenly made a sudden move and slapped Sun Dehu in the face. However, when he was less than 10 centimeters away from Sun Dehu's face, Wang Ling suddenly stopped, but the swift and violent wind from his palm blew unceremoniously on Sun Dehu's face, causing him pain. "Lost, lose, Captain, this guy is really a pervert, even more powerful than last time," Sun Dehu lost with all his heart. Then, this group of people dragged Wang Ling along and forced him to talk about what happened at the training base. The Eagle Squad, which is now the Dog Squad, has naturally changed its members after such a long time, and there are many new faces in it. But these people also know that Sun Dehu has always been the acting captain, waiting for the real captain to return. Now that they finally saw him in person, they were also interested. Those who were supposed to be on patrol even changed shifts with others and had to sit around in front of the camp, listening to stories and getting to know this real captain. As for what happened at the police dog training base, it is actually simple to tell. After all, life is almost the same every day, that is, it was more lively when I first arrived there. The group of people all laughed when they heard about Fat Niu trying to bully Wang Ling, but was kicked by Wang Ling in return. They also laughed even more when they heard about Wang Ling's embarrassment when training Xiao He. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 145. Time passed by inadvertently in the narration and laughter, and half an hour passed quickly. During this half hour, Wang Ling talked about many things he had experienced in general terms. Until the end, when Wang Ling talked about the parting scene, not only Wang Ling, but almost everyone present was red-eyed. Putting themselves in his shoes, it was a bit difficult for them to face that scene. As long as the war slows down a bit, I will go back and take a look at it, don't worry, Wang Ling finally concluded, and then turned to ask, by the way, how was the Eagle Squad during this period, and how is it now? Got the dog team? Speaking of this, Sun Dehu and a group of other old members of the Eagle Squad became angry, but no one of them spoke. In the end, Sun Dehu just sighed, Captain, you have just come here, so let's talk about this troublesome matter later. First, let me tell you about what the Eagle Squad has done in the past few months. As he spoke, Sun Dehu stood up, walked to the Samsung Apocalypse tank on the side, patted its heavy armor, and said proudly, Captain, during the period after you left, we didn't. It's a disgrace to the name of the Eagle Squad. Does this Apocalypse tank look familiar to you? Is this the one we bet on at the last base? Wang Ling guessed with some surprise. These tanks all look exactly the same on the surface, but in fact, in order to distinguish and facilitate command, each tank has its own unique number during production. Wang Ling was too lazy to remember these specific numbers, but after all, he had seen them before, and when he saw them again, he still had some impression. Sun Dehu continued to smile and said, that's right. Colonel Lovsky's bet has always been valid. Even if you leave, the bet will still be there. After a period of depression, we discussed the tactics in detail. Finally, relying on our own strength, we completely destroyed the remaining Allied base within the casualty range of the bet. This Apocalypse tank was promoted to the elite level after we pushed across the Allied base. It has long been eliminated. It's been marked with our mark, and no one can take it away from us. When he said these words, confidence emerged in Sun Dehu's tone. After all, he had fought with Wang Ling for a long time, and Sun Dehu had also learned a lot about Wang Ling's battlefield command and arrangements. It was not impossible to achieve this based on the principle of mutual restraint of arms and the powerful firepower of the Eagle Squadron. After Wang Ling heard this, he couldn't help but give Sun Dehu a thumbs up. Wang Ling's targeted attack method certainly played a decisive role in the last attack on the Allied base, but the Apocalypse tanks borrowed from the Allied base also played a big role, helping them share a lot of pressure. With the strength of the Eagle Squad, it would be somewhat difficult to conquer an entire Allied base. But this time, Sun Dehu and the others managed to destroy the remaining Allied base without relying on the destructive power of the Apocalypse tank. Wang Ling had to admire this achievement. Afterwards, Sun Dehu continued to talk, the two Allied bases were all bulldozed, and the battlefield was completely stabilized. However, the scope of the war between the Allied forces and the Allied forces is still very wide, and we cannot relax. In the base, after resting for a while, I received an order from Colonel Lovsky, asking Captain Zhao Pingwang to lead our Eagle Squad and Tiger Squad to rush to this battlefield. The Tiger Squad is here too. Wang Ling was a little surprised. Some of the comrades from the 5th Company who were in the barracks are also here. It seems that there are many old acquaintances of Wang Ling in this base. Sun Dehu nodded and continued the narration. This battlefield, both in terms of the scale of the war and the strength of the enemy, is superior to ours. When we first arrived, we suffered a lot when we performed our missions. We suffered a lot of losses. We have made many brothers. But fortunately, we have a strong foundation, with so many elites, and the powerful Apocalypse tanks to help us. Soon we adapted to the rhythm here, combined with your previous captain's strategic play, and gradually became passive in order to take the initiative. After several missions, we gradually developed the prestige of the Eagle team. As he spoke, Sun Dehu changed positions, patted another Apocalypse tank, and said with a smile, "Look, this is our reward." It was assigned to us by the base. He followed us on several missions and arrived 1-star level. With 2 Apocalypse tanks in charge, the Eagle Squad's combat effectiveness is at an all-time high. Wang Ling listened and nodded, feeling a little surprised in his heart. After learning about his points status, Wang Ling guessed that the Eagle Squad must have made great achievements on the battlefield. He didn't expect that the record would be so brilliant. No wonder he had accumulated so many points. After talking about these brilliance, Sun Dehu sighed, walked back to his original position, sat down cross-legged, and said leisurely, "There is also a saying that goes well, people are afraid of being famous, and pigs are afraid of being strong." After our Eagle Squad has gained a reputation, some high-ranking person in the base inquired about our situation and learned that I was just an acting captain, and had sent my confidants to us twice to take up the position of captain. However, we can only have you as the captain here, and the others none of us recognized it, so 2 came in one after another, and they were all squeezed out by us. Wang Ling was a little impressed, a little touched, and even dumbfounded by their approach. When he was assigned to the battlefield and first came to the Eagle Squadron, these thorny heads were already stumbling upon him. They were all experts in this regard. It is difficult for other people to have Wang Ling's fighting ability. It would be strange to be a captain here and not be ostracized. It is normal to be ostracized. You will probably have to suffer a lot of bullying. Captain, when you come here, you must have heard that this base originally had an Eagle team, and it was originally at the ace level in this base. Sun Dehu smiled bitterly and recounted this unbearable past. "We have the same name as them, but we are also very powerful in combat and have great military exploits." The superiors also tacitly approved the existence of 2 teams with the same name at the beginning. However, after expelling 2 captains one after another, the higher UPS seemed a little dissatisfied and ordered us to change the name of the team to Dog Squad. Wang Ling frowned after hearing this. Whose order is this? It sounds a bit silly. And then, you just changed the name to Adult Dog Team. Sun Dehu shook his head. Of course it's impossible. The reputation of the Eagle Squad has been established when you led us, Captain. How can you just change it? After hearing this, we started to protest collectively. As a result, the higher UPS were also a little impatient. Let us 2 Eagle Squads fight against each other individually, and the losing side will change its name. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 146. Today's Eagle Squad has been forcibly renamed Dog Squad. Obviously, the result of the confrontation was that Sun Dehu and the others lost. Although it was difficult to talk about this past, after all, he was facing Wang Ling, so Sun Dehu did not hide it and explained in detail. Although it is a one-man confrontation, this is on the battlefield after all, and we cannot waste so long, so we each arranged 9 brothers, plus the captains of both sides, and held a simple arena match. To be honest, our overall combat effectiveness was no worse than theirs, or even better. After the first few games, we only lost after 5 people were killed, 9 people from the Eagle Squad were defeated, leaving only the captain named Chen Tong. Speaking of this, Sun Dehu couldn't help but sigh. "I thought I had a chance to win, but I didn't expect that Chen Tong, like you, the captain, is also a pervert. He killed the remaining 5 of us, including me, and completely turned the tide of the battle. There was no way, the name of the Dog Squad was just changed to us." After finishing speaking, Donkey got angry and yelled, "What the hell, Dog Squad, aren't they just dogs? Changing the name like this is clearly an insult to us and revenge on us. Damn it, just think about it. Get angry." Not only him, but also other people's faces seemed a little ashamed and dissatisfied. but they could only be willing to admit defeat if they lost the bet. It's just that the face of this Eagle team is really not good looking. Wang Ling did not answer. After the scene was silent for a long time, Sun Dehu took a few breaths and changed the subject. Captain, you are new here. Let's put aside the matters of the Eagle squad and the Dog squad for now. There is something. I want to apologize to you. What's going on? Wang Ling asked curiously. Sun Dehu hesitated for a moment before replying, it's about the Fifth Company. When he heard this name, Wang Ling's expression darkened for a moment. His instructor was shot dead by Tanya on this battlefield. He would never forget this hatred. After the Fifth Company came to this battlefield, they formed a separate team, with the instructor as the temporary captain. We asked, Captain, you were a member of the Fifth Company, so we are helping them in all aspects. Sun Dehu scratched his head and explained with some difficulty, the war never stops, and the base is constantly operating. Before we made a bet with the Eagle squad, the K squad received a temporary order and went out to perform a mission. We fought with the Eagle squad when I was fighting, I temporarily forgot about it. I only remembered it after the fight. I quickly checked the map and found that the K team was being chased by an agent. I quickly dispatched Rhino tanks to help. However, I was still late. After a while, the K squad suffered heavy casualties, and their captain also died on the battlefield. After saying this, Sun Dehu carefully glanced at Wang Ling secretly, as if he was afraid that Wang Ling would run away. And now, after hearing this detailed story, Wang Ling was inevitably very angry in his heart, and his face was also uncertain. However, after all, he had received the news in advance. Now, he could control his emotions, but his chest was obviously rising and falling more than before. After holding back his anger, Wang Ling asked again, what's the final result? Seeing that Wang Ling did not run away, Sun Dehu breathed a sigh of relief and continued, as a result, just when Tanya was about to be killed, reinforcements from the Allied forces also rushed to the battlefield, rescued Tanya and blew up Tanya. Our Rhino tank. Fortunately, they did not continue the pursuit, and the rest of the K team survived safely. Afterwards, they returned to the battlefield to search again, and found the body of their captain. They cried after bringing it back a long time. Not long after that, I heard that they collectively petitioned and went to find you together. After hearing the complete story, Wang Ling couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Sun Dehu, after all, was still a little busy when he was commanding on the spot. If an anti-aircraft crawler vehicle had been used to go to the rescue, perhaps there would have been more people in the K team, and Tanya would have been killed. But it happened that the one-star Rhino tank he temporarily dispatched was a one-star Rhino tank with relatively poor maneuverability, and the 3 stars previous lethality against infantry was also very limited, which led to the current result. Wang Ling had been upset about this result many times, but now he gradually looked away from it. There is no use worrying about what has happened. Although Tanya survived, this also gave Wang Ling the opportunity to kill Tanya in the future. Thinking of this, Wang Ling's heart was full of fighting spirit. After glancing at everyone present, Wang Ling finally expressed his stance, to tell you the truth, before Xiao He graduated, I came here in advance just for this matter. Let me settle the instructor's hatred personally. 10. Agent Ya, sooner or later I will kill her with my own hands. Okay. Captain, your hatred is our hatred. They are hostile forces to begin with. If you see Agent Tanya in the future, you will definitely beat him to death. Sun Dehu nodded firmly. Yes, this revenge must be avenged. Tanya must die. Others also expressed their unswerving support for Wang Ling. Even the new faces who had never met before felt a little geared up. After looking at them again, Wang Ling was filled with joy. Brothers, thank you very much. After talking about this matter, Wang Lingke brought the topic back to the original name of the team, I have a deep understanding of how powerful Agent Tanya is. If we only rely on our infantry unit, we are no match for her, and it is difficult to defeat her alone. It's her, so keep this revenge in your heart and don't have to rush to avenge it. Now, let's deal with our current problems. I don't like the name Dog Squad either. Sundahu and the others had been depressed and suppressed for too long because of the team name issue. Now that the real Captain Wang Ling finally arrived, they also had someone to support them, and they were all filled with indignation. Yes, this name is clearly trying to mislead us. Take back Team Eagle's name. Captain is here, what are we afraid of? We have to take back the lost glory with our own hands. This group of people is very comfortable with such sensitive matters. Wang Ling just mentioned it and they are already impatient. And just as they were cheering for each other, a discordant voice suddenly came from outside the Eagle Squadron station. Hey, listen to this voice, it seems to be from the Dog Squad. Why, we just lost a few days ago, and we are not convinced yet. Or is it that your old captain is back and wants to take this opportunity to cause trouble again? Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 147. These words were very sharp, and Sundahu and others became angry when they heard it. However, they turned their heads and were about to curse, but they suddenly became quiet again, and their faces became darkened one by one. Wang Ling also followed the sound and looked over, and then he realized that it was another Eagle team from this base who was coming. A total of more than 10 people came this time. Besides the captain Chen Tong, who else could be the first person? Wang Ling had briefly met him before. While this man had strong individual combat capabilities, he was also very arrogant. This kind of arrogance made Wang Ling a little bit uncomfortable. When it came to the Eagle Squad and Dog Squad, Wang Ling was even more unhappy. He stood up and asked with a straight face, "What are you doing here?" Chen Tong led the dozen or so people until he stopped 2 meters away from Wang Ling. Then he crossed his arms and looked at Wang Ling in amazement. Wang Ling, the former captain of the dog team, is a 1-star veteran. His achievements were sent from the barracks to the battlefield in advance, and he led the dog team to achieve many military exploits, and even led the team to attack the Allied base. This achievement, wow, awesome, awesome. As he spoke, Chen Tong especially clapped his hands. However, there was more of amusement in his smiling face. Dog Squad fell into his mouth, which seemed to be very natural, which made Wang Ling, Sundahu and others very unhappy. The informants in their team were quite capable. During the time when Wang Ling was talking to Sundahu and the others, they had already found out all about Wang Ling's past. On Wang Ling's side, some recruits didn't understand what Chen Tong meant, and immediately asked, "Why, Captain Chen, are you scared and came here specifically to compliment me?" Chen Tong smiled mockingly, glanced at him, and then revealed his true colors. "Compliment? Is it worth it? We can do it on that simple battlefield, and we won't be worse than you. But you, Wang Ling." After looking Wang Ling up and down, Chen Tong mocked, "After the glory, it came to an end soon. I heard that he suddenly fell ill while attacking the next base and was forced to leave the battlefield to raise a dog. That's a police dog, not a dog." The people behind Chen Tong seemed to have discussed it long ago, and they laughed collectively, causing Wang Ling's face to look increasingly ugly. "Why do I feel so unreliable when you say that you are sick?" Chen Tong then laughed and said, "Why do I feel that you are afraid? Are you afraid of war, afraid of dying in battle, and you are a coward, but you pretend to be sick? This bastard is really merciless when it comes to his words. Say it again if you dare. Damn it, you humiliate the captain like this, I think your skin is itching." Behind Wang Ling, Sundahu's group immediately became angry, and their posture seemed to be about to start a fight with Chen Tong and others in the next second. However, Wang Ling temporarily waved at them to stop them, and then asked indifferently, "The distance between our two camps is not close. Did you bring people here specifically to mock me?" Chen Tong smiled proudly and confidently, "Mockery? This is not my purpose. The people in the dog squad have been very dishonest recently. They have obviously lost the competition, but they still have this attitude, which makes me very shameless. As the old captain of the dog squad, after coming here, it's easy for the dog squad to lose their minds and do something stupid. So, I'm here just to hammer it out. By the way, I'd like to remind you that even if you have an extra captain, the dog squad will still be able to do something stupid. It's the dog squad, it can't be changed, so just worry about it." Seeing his posture, not to mention Sun Dehu and others, even Wang Ling was angry, laughed at himself, and then stared at Chen Tong. "I don't want to argue with you, but you took the initiative to come to the door without saying hello. You are no longer suitable. Who do you think you are in this base? You say you can't change if you can't change? Oh, I still don't believe in this evil. Chen Tong, listen to me, the coward you call me is going to change now. I challenge your entire Eagle squad. How about it? Do you dare to accept it?" Finally, the challenge letter was sent out. Chen Tong sounded crazy, but what Wang Ling showed now was even crazier than him. He challenged the entire Eagle squad, which not even Chen Tong could do. The two people looked at each other, and there seemed to be electric sparks bursting out, pushing the atmosphere of the scene to a climax. Wang Ling was half a head shorter than Chen Tong, but during the confrontation, he did not lose any momentum. He has now gone through the intermediate level of enhancement. Compared with the last time he entered the Eagle squad, his combat effectiveness has increased by more than one level. Currently, Chen Tong and others really do not pose much of a threat to Wang Ling. However, Sun Dehu and the others didn't know that they were all a little anxious when they heard that Wang Ling was going to challenge so many people. Some people were even winking at Wang Ling. Contrary to them, Chen Tong and the others all raised their eyebrows, somewhat unexpected by Wang Ling's arrogance. However, then they became happy again, with Chen Tong as the representative, responding, "Good guy, you are crazier than me. I haven't seen such a crazy person in a long time. I accepted this challenge, but only myself take it, there is no need for others to get involved. You were not here last time, so now through this competition, you will lose completely. After all, it was a competition between two team captains, involving the reputation and name of the team. Naturally, the two of them would not resolve it so hastily in private. They both wanted to make the matter bigger. As a result, both sides sent some soldiers to fight against each other. The news quickly spread throughout the base, and even King Xiaoping and the commander of the base heard about it. After the news was distributed, an hour later, the base became lively. Except for some personnel who had missions or were on patrol, almost everyone else rushed to the location of the last arena match between the two teams. With the people gathered together, those old acquaintances naturally appeared one after another, and the first one to appear was Hu Ben. This man was so happy when he saw Wang Ling. "Brother Wang Ling, haha, long time no see. It's really not peaceful where you are. It's so exciting when I first come here." Wang Ling still had a good impression of this man, and immediately responded with a smile, "There is nothing we can do. The team is being bullied. We are new here, so of course we have to show something." After Hu Ben heard this, he walked over carelessly, but when he got closer, he deliberately lowered his voice and reminded, "That guy named Chen Tong is very powerful. He is no worse than you before. Are you sure you can deal with him?" "Don't worry." Wang Ling patted him on the shoulder and dismissed him with a casual word. Later, the members of K-Team, the fifth company originally assigned to this battlefield, also came here. Seeing Wang Ling getting more excited than the other, number 102 shouted without hesitation, 101, "Damn, You're finally here, and you're causing trouble as soon as you come. Hee hee, but I like it, so don't embarrass our fifth company and beat him down. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 148. This number 102 had the attitude of a newborn calf who is not afraid of tigers. He shouted without caring about the impact. Even Chen Tong and the members of the Eagle team over there could hear it, and they all had a straight face at the moment. Not only him, but other members of the fifth company also started shouting, giving full support to Wang Ling. Although Chen Tong was powerful, he only crossed 5 people including Sun Dehu at first, but Wang Ling crossed 99 people from the first company. Although Sun Dehu's 5 men were far from being comparable to the first company, in their hearts, fighting with Wang Ling was looking for abuse. After all, Chen Tong's Eagle Squad was an established team in the space and had many acquaintances. Soon, someone was cheering Chen Tong tit for tat, clamoring to teach the newcomer a lesson. This scene is really lively. However, after the people gathered, they did not start immediately. Soon, Xiaoping Wang accompanied the 2 of them to the vicinity. Everyone else was in awe after seeing it and collectively performed a military salute, even Wang Ling and Chen Tong were no exception. Forget Xiaoming Wang, the captain. The 2 people beside him are each higher in rank than the last. One is a captain, and the other is even a major general. Obviously, this major general is the commander-in-chief of the space, and the captain and Xiaoping Wang probably hold the position of deputy or guard. This major general, named Li Wiki, didn't say anything after he arrived. He just folded his arms indifferently, as if he wanted to watch the excitement. However, his presence here also invisibly put psychological pressure on many people. The captain's name was Rovsky. In fact, he was the one who gave instructions for assigning the captain to Sun Dehu's Eagle Squadron. After all, Sun Dehu learned from Wang Ling, and he was too wild-minded. He often felt out of control on the battlefield. As long as he could complete the task, he didn't care about the details of your orders. This was quite troublesome, so he sent his confidants. It is also for the convenience of command. But who would have expected that the original Eagle Squad would be so stubborn, blatantly disobeying this order and forcibly ousting 2 new captains? This made Rovsky dissatisfied. After consulting Major General Li Wiki, he deliberately let Chen Tong go. The Eagle Squad went to Niwai to get them. His approach can't help but give people the feeling of being a chicken with a small belly. But in fact, any commander would not be happy with Sun Dehu's stubbornness and their efforts to exclude the new captain. Now, Major General Li Wiki and Captain Rovsky had obviously heard Xiaoping Wang report Wang Ling's situation. Now looking at Wang Ling and Chen Tong in the confrontation, Rovsky felt a little unhappy. This person is Wang Ling? Oh my god, what should I call him, that prickly leader? He starts trouble as soon as he comes, it's really a headache. Isn't it just a name? As for being so impulsive, the dog squad is not the dog squad. However, Xiaoping Wang understood this group of people from the original Eagle team and replied with a smile, it is true that Wang Ling is the leader of this group of thorns, but what he is doing now can't be called provoking trouble, but rather trying to make things right. Why do you say that? It's not you who changed the name of the Eagle Squad? This Eagle Squad was inconspicuous at first on our previous battlefield. It was Wang Ling who led them to grow up step by step after Wang Ling left. Therefore, the Eagle Squad maintains this. To put it bluntly, the name is to protect Wang Ling. You changed the name forcibly. With their temperament, they must be holding their breath. If they keep holding it in like this, they will probably cause trouble sooner or later. Zhao Mingwang replied with an angry smile, but it's better now. Wang Ling is here. This is the person in the Eagle Squad who can really change their mentality. I dare say that Wang Ling will definitely win this fight. With this tone, they will be much better, but the subsequent processing may be a little troublesome. Oh, Rovitsky asked curiously, why, do you have so much confidence in that Wang Ling? That's right. I don't think so. Chen Tong is a very strong person, and he is also the captain of the veteran Eagle squad. I don't think anyone can surpass him in his individual combat ability. Then let's wait and see. I'm too lazy to make a bet and hit you. Dot. The voices of the two people talking were relatively low, and others did not hear them. After the two of them finished talking, Zhao Pingwang walked forward with a calm look, looked at Wang Ling and Chen Tong, and said with a smile, "You two have finally met. Since there is a conflict, let's resolve it in a manly way. However, you have to remember that you are comrades in arms, not enemies, so don't act lightly." "I know, I will show mercy," Chen Tong smiled confidently. But Wang Ling looked at him like a fool, shook his head helplessly, and was too lazy to answer anything. Zhao Pingwang also found it funny, but in the end he coughed dryly and took up the referee's duties. "The rules don't matter, as long as you two are happy. Get ready, let's begin." The referee's way of starting was a bit unique, and Wang Ling couldn't help but laugh. But Chen Tong didn't care about this at all. He snorted coldly and quickly approached Wang Ling, clenching his right hand tightly. The huge body seemed to be full of strength. However, just as he approached Wang Ling, before he had time to swing his fist, he suddenly felt a black shadow flash in front of his eyes, and then he felt a sharp pain on his face, and his whole body flew 3 meters to one side. When he landed, but it was a mess. Wang Ling's kick just now was too fast, and many people couldn't see it clearly, but he still maintains his kicking posture. Anyone who is not a fool would know that it was Chen Tong who was kicked by Wang Ling just now. This situation also made the people around them dumbfounded. Who is Chen Tong? A seasoned veteran on the battlefield and the elite captain of the Eagle Squadron, he is extremely capable in individual combat. Not long ago, he even managed to cross 5 people including Sun Dehu effortlessly, as if he was a one-on-one king. But now, being kicked away by the new master in front of me, the gap is too big, right? Not only them, but also Sun Dehu and others and those in the 5th company were a little surprised. Although they could guess that Wang Ling would win, they didn't expect it to be so simple. Is that correct? Rovitsky blinked hard, looking in disbelief. Is Chen Tong not prepared? In response, Zhao Pingwang just smiled and said nothing. Just when they were surprised, Wang Ling gradually withdrew his feet, not satisfied, and challenged Chen Tong, who was still unable to recover. "Hey, how far do you want to be in a daze? How can you still fight? Keep going. If you are a man, get up for me and don't let me look down on you." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 149. In fact, according to the previous arena matches between the two teams, if the fight reaches this level, it can be over. But there were no rules for this competition. Chen Tong did not admit defeat, and Wang Ling did not give up. The competition continued. After hearing Wang Ling's provocation, Chen Tong gritted his teeth angrily, stood up again as soon as he slapped the ground, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, assumed a military stance, and said seriously, "I didn't expect that, little one. It depends on you, the speed of this kick is quite fast." Wang Ling smiled, "It's not just about speed. This time, I will use the same attack method to slow down my kick. If you can defend yourself, come and give it a try." Snort. Chen Tong said angrily, "Don't be complacent, you won't always be so lucky." "Are you lucky? Come and try again." Wang Ling's lips curled up slightly. If he wanted to fight, he wouldn't accept anyone now. After being provoked to this extent, Chen Tong couldn't bear it any longer. He snorted coldly and started charging again. Although he thought Wang Ling was lucky just now, Chen Tong couldn't help but become wary in his heart, always staring at Wang Ling's right leg. Sure enough, when he got closer, Wang Ling raised his leg again and made almost the same action as before. This time, Wang Ling specially slowed down his speed, but in the eyes of normal people, it was still extremely fast. At this speed, Chen Tong could have avoided it, but he just didn't believe in this evil and insisted on resisting, quickly blocking it with his hands in front of him. However, Chen Tong obviously underestimated Wang Ling's strength. This roundhouse kick ended up knocking Chen Tong away 5 or 6 meters through Chen Tong's arms. Wow! This time, the people around them couldn't calm down anymore. If we talk about the first time, we can think that Wang Ling was lucky and happened to seize Chen Tong's loophole, but what about the second time? It was obvious that Chen Tong had slowed down and was blocking with all his strength, but now this was the result. This is the second time. Isn't Captain Chen Tong very strong? Why was he kicked away twice in succession? Who is this new chief? Why is he so strong? Captain Chen Tong seems to have no ability to resist under him. What a powerful master! Where did the dog squad invite this captain from? Haha, good. Captain, good fight. 101, come on. Dot. All the soldiers who didn't know Wang Ling were talking a lot, but Sun Dehu and others and the people of the 5th Company were clapping and applauding. Rovitsky finally put away his previous contemptuous attitude and looked at Wang Ling with a stern brow. I was mistaken. This person is very strong. These people did not deliberately lower their voices when talking. Of course, Chen Tong could hear it. He was angry in his heart. He clenched his fists and looked at Wang Ling fiercely. He rubbed the corners of his mouth and continued to stand up. Come again. Wang Ling naturally didn't care and still looked at him indifferently. Now, Chen Tong had realized how powerful Wang Ling was and did not dare to underestimate him anymore. This time, he even took a boxing stance and moved towards Wang Ling little by little. Wang Ling didn't care what his fighting style was, he just slowly stretched out his hand and hooked him. Faced with Wang Ling's provocation, Chen Tong no longer acted impulsively and was still moving slowly. When he gradually approached Wang Ling, he suddenly jumped back without waiting for Wang Ling to make any move. Be prepared for Wang Ling's roundhouse kick. But this time, Wang Ling had no intention of doing anything. Chen Tong was clearly overly concerned. After jumping over, Chen Tong's face turned red, but he quickly returned to normal and continued to move forward. When he got closer, he started punching. However, Wang Ling struck much faster than him, hitting him on the wrist and then punching him in the face. Wang Ling didn't use much force in this punch. After staggering for a while, Chen Tong gritted his teeth and punched Wang Ling again with his backhand. However, Wang Ling moved half a step sideways, dodged the punch, and then casually another punch hit Chen Tong in the face. Being slapped in the face one after another, Chen Tong became a little angry. He roared, jumped up and pressed Wang Ling with his knees. But Wang Ling was one step ahead of him, jumped up and kicked Chen Tong to the side, and then kicked Chen Tong away more than 10 meters. This Chen Tong is very strong. Few people in this base can defeat him, but among them, Wang Ling is not included. After the intermediate strengthening, Wang Ling's strength has now soared, and normal people are no match for him. In his eyes, Chen Tong is not much different from other people. Although Wang Ling did not use all his strength with this kick, it was not too bad. After landing, Chen Tong also showed a look of pain, coughed twice, and faintly seemed to spurt out some blood droplets. However, with the self-healing ability of the 3-star elite soldiers in this red alert world, there is no need to worry about this kind of injury. The group of people around them saw Chen Tong being kicked away one after another. They were originally surprised and gradually got used to it. The outcome of this competition was already clear in their hearts. But Wang Ling still didn't seem to give up. He walked step by step towards Chen Tong, who was lying on the ground. When he got closer, he raised his fist and punched him hard. With this punch, even a layman could tell that Wang Ling had no reservations. As a result, King Xiaoming became anxious and shouted, "Wang Ling!" Rovitsky also yelled at the same time, "Stop!" But Wang Ling didn't seem to hear it. The punch landed hard. The next moment, everyone at the scene heard a violent roar, which seemed to hit the bottom of their hearts, making people's hearts tremble. After calming down and taking a look, I realized that Wang Ling's punch actually did not hit Chen Tong's body at all, but passed through his head and hit the ground. The power of this punch was so strong that it even connected with the rock. An obvious groove was made on the ground. As for Chen Tong, he seemed to be frightened by Wang Ling's punch just now. He was now blocking his body with his hands and closing his eyes, looking resigned to his fate. But after hearing the sound, he opened his eyes again, glanced at Wang Ling in confusion, and then followed his fist to the ground next to him. The obvious groove frightened him on the spot. Is this still the destructive power of humans? I was actually fighting with such a monster just now? Also frightened were the surrounding group of soldiers. Now they were all staring at the groove with their mouths agape. In their hearts, they had automatically classified Wang Ling into a group that must not be provoked. Among them, even Sun Dehu and others and those in the fifth company swallowed hard, and King Xiaoping even exclaimed, "Good guy, this Wang Ling seems to be stronger than before." After finishing speaking, Xiaoping Wang turned his head, looked at Rovsky, who was also a little surprised, and asked, "Brother, look, has this result come out?" Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 150. Rovitsky looked at the scene and was silent for a while before sighing, "Okay, I lose this time. This Wang Ling is simply a pervert. With such a perverted captain, no wonder the original Eagle the team is so stubborn, the upper beam is not straight and the lower beam is crooked." Xiaoping Wang just smiled and said nothing. After Rovitsky finished speaking, he ignored Xiaoping Wang and complained, "Old Xiao, you are not honest. You know Wang Ling is so strong, why didn't you tell him in advance?" Didn't I tell you that Wang Ling will definitely win this competition?" Xiaoping Wang looked like he was wronged, and when he said that, there were several black lines on Rovitsky's forehead. Fortunately, he didn't make a bet with this guy, otherwise he would have lost miserably. As for those in the fighting circle, Chen Tong was shocked by the punch. He did nothing else for a moment and just looked at Wang Ling anxiously. After this continued for a while, Wang Ling stared at Chen Tong and warned, "You are no match for me. Don't be so crazy in front of me. It annoys me. I'm here to fight, not to compete with you, Fengduki." After finishing speaking, Wang Ling retracted his fist. After the fight was over, he didn't want to make the conflict too big, but instead stretched his hand in front of Chen Tong. Chen Tong's current mental state can be said to be extremely complicated. He was unwilling to lose the competition and also fearful of Wang Ling. After struggling for a while, he looked away, sighed, and took Wang Ling's hand. Stood up. Although Chen Tong was arrogant, facing Wang Ling who was even more powerful than him, he didn't show too much complacency. He looked at Wang Ling with a complicated expression, and then smiled sadly, "I lost this competition, you are very strong, even stronger than me. It's not like I, Chen Tong, cannot afford to lose, so I will give the name of the Eagle Squad back to you." Hearing Chen Tong personally admit defeat and hand over the name of the Eagle Squadron, Sun Dehua and others immediately beamed with joy. But unexpectedly, Wang Ling didn't care much. He shook his head and said, "Give it to me. I don't want it either. Just stay with your Eagle Squad and don't compete with you for this name." Sun Dehu and the others were confused, and even Chen Tong was confused. "Why? Are you fighting me for the name of Eagle Squad?" Wang Ling smiled playfully, when did I say that? Then why are you fighting with me? I see you are too crazy and I want to beat you up, that's all. You are such a strange person. Chen Tong was speechless. Although he lost the game, Wang Ling did not embarrass him. This made Chen Tong admire Wang Ling a little more. Now, Wang Ling was angry and Chen Tong was subdued. The fight between the two was over, but Captain Rowski and Major General Li Wiki were a little confused. Major General Li Wiki frowned and asked, "Is that Wang Ling? What are you doing? You mobilized so many people to come, but you didn't use the name of the team as a bet. So what do you want to do? To swear your arrival?" This Major General Li Wiki looks like he is in his early 40s, with slightly gray hair on his temples. He always has a serious expression on his face, and there is always a sense of perseverance in his eyes. He looks a little calm and confident. Faced with the Major General's question, Wang Ling did not dare to be presumptuous, and quickly gave a military salute and replied, "Sir, this battle is to complete the battle that the two teams failed to complete last time. On the other hand, we do have something to ask for." Major General Li Wiki still frowned. "You tell me." Wang Ling responded, "The name of the team is a code name and a symbol. I clearly know who my subordinates are working so hard to protect the Eagle Squad. And for me, the most important thing in the Eagle Squad is it's not this name, but my group of subordinates and comrades in arms, so as long as the people are still there, it's not too important whether we name it Eagle Squad. However, we are not very satisfied with the team name Dog Squad, so we thought we need to request the commander to rename the Dog Squad to the Wolf Squad and merge the Bird Squad under our command. The K Squad, the original 5th Company, was assigned to this battlefield and encountered Tanya, suffering heavy casualties. And as long as you stay on the battlefield, this kind of casualties will be difficult to avoid. However, if these old comrades are divided into Wang Ling's command, he is confident that he can let this group of people survive as much as possible. Of course, the people in K Squad also understood Wang Ling's intention. After hearing this request, they all beamed with joy. For them, instead of being unwelcome in this base or even being used as cannon fodder, it is better to entrust their hope to Wang Ling and fight vigorously. Even if they die in the end, they will have no regrets. Snort. However, Major General Li Wiki was a little unhappy when he heard this request. Changing the name of the team doesn't matter, as long as it doesn't hinder command and fighting, it doesn't matter. But as soon as Wang Ling arrived at the base, he asked to integrate the K team. This was somewhat of a challenge to His Majesty. After all, only commanders are qualified to mobilize troops. Little Gitu, you kicked your nose in the face. Major General Li Wiki's eyes were sharp and he snorted coldly. He was about to reprimand and refuse Wang Ling's request, but before he could say the next words, the entire base suddenly lost power, all the magnetic storm coils stopped operating, and the anti-aircraft guns also stopped operating. It became a decoration. This change also shocked the group of soldiers in the base. They looked around with some confusion and hesitation in their eyes. Wang Ling noticed something was abnormal, and subconsciously wanted to check the map. However, the base was powered off and the radar stopped operating. Without the radar signal, the electronic map could not be viewed anymore. However, during the inspection process, Wang Ling also discovered something fishy. In the lower right corner of the original electronic map area, there was a countdown timer jumping. Seeing this prompt, Wang Ling suddenly understood, it's a spy who entered the power plant. Isn't it? The only ones who can cause the current situation are spies. Unexpectedly, while Wang Ling and Chen Tong were fighting and many soldiers in the base were watching the battle, the Allied spies took advantage of the opportunity and sneaked into the base. This unit is disgusting to say the least. It has no combat effectiveness at all, but when used properly, it can often cause great losses to the enemy. Sneaking into the ore refinery will steal a large amount of money, Sneaking into the tank factory, all newly produced battle tanks of the Allies will be promoted to 1-star veterans. Sneaking into the combat laboratory, you will also get very powerful new types of arms. Now, the spy has naturally entered the power plant, and the entire base will be without power in the next period of time. Electricity is particularly important in the base. The most powerful defense facility, the magnetic storm coil, requires a lot of electricity to drive. Anti-aircraft guns and radars also need electricity. As long as the power is cut off, the base's defense strength will be greatly reduced. Discounted.